Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing a fun little ombre spring set. Before we get into the tutorial, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe and hit the bell to turn on notifications for when I post. So of course, I always start by pushing back my client's cuticles, and then I am using my sanding band. This is a 180 grit, by the way, and I'm just taking that and going across the client's entire nail as well as around the cuticle area. And this is just super important because this gets rid of all of those natural oils that our nails produce. And that's really important to get all of that off, because that will prevent the acrylic from adhering to the nail and then just cause lifting, nails to be popping off. We don't want that. So, and you don't have to use a lot of pressure. You don't need your drill to be up at a high speed for this. You're just briefly running it across the nail to simply get rid of those natural oils. You want to make sure that at all times when using your e-file that you are not applying too much pressure and you are keeping that file moving. That is super important, because if you leave it in one spot too long, it could dent or damage your client's nails, and it also could cause friction, which will cause a lot of heat. It'll be like a burning sensation. So you definitely want to avoid that because it is not comfortable. So just keep that in mind. Here I am just applying the tip. So this client wanted a medium square set, and as you can see, the nail tips are pre-shaped. I got these off of Amazon, by the way. I'm not sure the brand, but if you would like to know, just leave a comment down below and I can let you know. But I really enjoy working with these. They make it super easy. Now I do obviously shape my own nails, but I do that after the application. So being that these are pre-shaped, it does help a lot to have them already square shaped. So after applying, as you can see, I am just taking that same sanding band and I'm blending the nail tips in with the natural nail. And this is just important because it will help prevent lifting and really helps with your retention rate. And by the way, as you can see, when I was placing the nail tips, I was making sure that they were all even with each other. You want to make sure that they're not crooked, they're not pointed in a different direction in any way. Make sure they're all even with one another. And so here I am going in with my Mia Secret dehydrator. And this is just a super important step, another layer, I guess I could say, to get rid of those natural oils. You just want to make sure that those nails are really dehydrated and oil free. And then I'm going in with my Mia Secret Extra Bond. Another really good brand for this is Young Nails Protein Bond. They do the same thing, and it is what helps prime the nails and allows the acrylic to better adhere to the nail. And this is super important. These two steps are very important. You have to do this no matter what. It's one of the most important steps in the prep phase. It is what helps prevent, like I said, lifting, and will help those nails really last. Without that, them nails ain't lasting. And I do 2 layers of the protein bond or the extra bond, whichever one you want to go with. And that's totally optional. It just works for me. So here, like I mentioned earlier, and as you can see on the thumbnail and in the caption, we're doing an ombre look, but we're using gel. So it actually looks, well, most people think that it's like oh so hard, but it's really not as hard as people think it is. It's just simply kind of skipping a few steps, and this is a really good method to do if you or your clients wanting to do an ombre that you don't have, an acrylic color floor. So here we're doing like a spring set, and I probably do have all of these colors in acrylic, but for me personally, it's just easier to do it this way. So what I did was just take the gel, and I do 1 layer of the gel polish, and making sure, I'm tongue twisted. I'm making sure to wipe the sides of the nails to get any excess polish off. And then I'm going to let that cure for 60 seconds. And then I do apply a top coat and let that cure for 60 seconds. And it's really simple. There's nothing really to it. Granted, when you're using acrylic to do the ombre, of course, you're building up your nail and your apex and your structure. Versus when you do it this way, you will have to be a little bit more mindful of doing your application, as you can see here. But it's not anything different. You just have to make sure, pay more attention to building up that good foundation. And so it's pretty simple. I just am going in with my Mia Secret Cover Nude, or Cover Blush Nude, something like that. It's my favorite, one of my favorites. And I'm just applying my first bead, and I'm just lightly feathering it down. And I'm saying lightly because you don't want to drag or pull the acrylic too much at all, really, just because it will start to get stuck in your brush and just overall affect the ombre look that you're going for. So you do want to just be mindful of that, making sure that you're working light-handedly when you're blending. The whole point in the ombre, the whole point here is to blend. So you want to make sure that you're blending. That can't really happen if you're just pressing it down too hard, wiping off your product, and so forth. Now, because of where we are placing the bead, I am placing it, usually it depends on the finger size. Obviously this is the pinky, so it's a little bit smaller, but I do place, usually I place the first bead when I'm doing this step. I'll place it right where the nail and the nail tip meet, like right where the ombre is started at. And I do like to place it just slightly above there and then go ahead and feather down an ombre. And then I usually place another bead right underneath the cuticle area. And this is just one, to really get a good blended ombre, and then two, to build up that apex. You can do it with one bead, you can do it with 4 beads, whatever is comfortable for you and for the look that you and your client are going for. I do want to say that I think that it is easier to add acrylic than it is to take away. So try not to work too heavily with your beads, because in the long run, you're going to just be doing a lot of filing when it's all said and done, rather than just look at it now during the application process as you go and add as it's needed. So I do like to just say, like I said, be mindful of that. As you can see, I'm just really blending it in here, and I do end up going back over each nail, and I kind of encapsulate it with just one thin layer of clear acrylic. And I do this, one, to help just build that structure up even more, and two, because I do like to, although we top coated the colored gel, I do like to just put like that layer of acrylic that we're adding on top, that clear. I do like to do that because it does just adds another layer of kind of protection. When you do get to filing with your hand file or even your e-file, you'll notice that it can sometimes take away some of the polish. And an easy way to fix that is, to just file the nail a little bit more wherever the polish did start to chip away from. But in essence, you might be having to shorten your client's nail length or change something about the nail in general. So it's just easier to kind of go ahead and avoid any issues like that. We top coated it. We're going to put a thin layer of clear acrylic over top, and we're good. You won't really have to worry about that problem. Also, when doing a set like this, you want to make sure that you're not applying too much acrylic. I know I've already said this, but I just really want to emphasize on it, because it's kind of easy in a set like this to look at it and think, oh, that's too much, or oh, that's not enough. So you do just want to make sure that you are paying attention, because you don't want your nails to be super thick and lumpy. And in a set like this, that is very easy to do, because you're starting off with the ombre gel. There's no foundation built up from that whatsoever. So when you go to apply your acrylic, you're going to be looking at it usually as like, oh, I need more. Oh, I need more. This isn't looking like how it normally does when I do ombre. And that's just because, again, you already have your color down. So I'm kind of just rambling here, but the whole point is just to ombre it, encapsulate it, and then if you need to add more acrylic, add a little bit more clear, a little bit more ombre, whatever you feel like you need. Obviously, if you need it to be ombreed more, you would have to do that before encapsulating it. But you get what I'm saying. Work with littler beads, not even littler beads, just work a little at a time. I don't want to tell you to slap a whole bunch of acrylic on there, knowing that in the end, when you go to file them, they're going to be looking super fat, super lumpy, super bumpy, and we don't want that. So just be mindful. It's really simple to do this design overall. I know, like I said, some people look at it and get a little discouraged, but it's really not as hard as it seems. And as you can see, I'm making sure to wipe around my client's cuticle area still. If you are a returner, then you know that I say this in every video. I really emphasize this. You do not want any acrylic to be left on your client's skin or cuticle area. And that is because it will for sure cause lifting, one. And two, it's just overall uncomfortable and it's not, nice and neat application. You don't want your clients leaving and they got to pick off acrylic or they have stuff on their skin area, anything of that sort. You want to make sure that everything is nice and neat. So with that being said, if you do happen to get some acrylic on your cuticle, on your client's cuticle or skin, don't panic. It's an easy fix. You just simply, as you can see I'm doing, taking my brush, wiping around the area and freeing it of all acrylics. Also, when doing this, since we are using, the color that we're blending for the ombre as well as the clear acrylic, it is easy to kind of, since we're applying, I don't want to say so much because we're not really applying more acrylic, but since we're using a bunch of different acrylics, it can sometimes take away from the shape of the nail, especially with us blending it into practically nothing since there is no acrylic on the color at first. So my point in saying that is just make sure that, as you can see, I'm still taking the time to pat the sides of my nails as well as the free edge just to keep that shape and take off any excess acrylic. You don't need to worry too much on that. That is optional, but I just feel like I said earlier, and like I say in a lot of my videos, working smarter, not harder, working cleaner, it will save you so much time in the end because, once the acrylic application is done, you'll still already have that nice clean square shape, so when you file you won't have much to do. And I do want to say that you want to make sure that you are looking at your client's nails from different angles because you want to make sure that there are no lumps or bumps. You want to make sure that everything is nice and even. You want to make sure that your apex is as built up as it needs to be. The apex, again, is where the nail tip and the natural nail meet. You can think of that like the heart of the nail. That is where your main focus should be. A lot of people think that because they, make the nail super thick or use a lot of acrylic. I don't know why I just blinked there, but a lot of people think that because, as long as they use a lot of acrylic that the nail won't break or that they'll stay on longer, and that's not the case at all. You actually are going to be doing the complete opposite by making your nails super thick. It can in turn damage your client's nails way more than what it would have if you just did it the right way. And you have to kind of think of it as if there is so much product on one little thing, and in this case one little nail, if you're to hit that wrong, pull on it wrong, tug on it wrong, one little way, it's going to probably take off the nail, if not damage it pretty badly, because there's so much force from all of that product on one little nail. So just keep that in mind. And this is kind of, I'm trying to think, I don't want to say that it's just like any other encapsulation set because it's not just application, but in my opinion, I feel like this is easier than like ombre with acrylic. The only reason I say that is because, one, when you're doing the ombre, you don't have to worry about the acrylic that you are ombreing with. So in this case, the nude, you don't have to worry about it not blending correctly or blending in one spot and not the other, like with the other acrylic. I don't know. I just feel like it's much cleaner and there is less room for error and, your brush getting clogged, the acrylic's not mixing well, whatever the case may be. And I feel like it's low-key quicker. You don't have to worry about, I guess it depends on how long it kind of takes you to polish that nail once and dry it, top coat it, XYZ. But I feel like this way is easier. Now, if I'm doing like a basic ombre like the nude and white, pink and white, I haven't done that with polish yet. I will say I will have to do it with polish to see if I like that way better than doing that with acrylic. But as of right now, I feel like with the basic classic ombre, you low-key got to do it with acrylic. I feel like it just looks better. Not that this don't look good, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Comment down below if you have ever done ombre like this, and if you have any tips for any other ladies, because I do want to say that although I do a lot of tutorials on this channel, it's not like what I say is the only way to do it or the like most right, Everybody has their own technique. Everybody does things differently. I just get on here and do my tutorials and film what I do to try to help somebody, learn a new way of doing things, try a new way of doing things, see a new way of doing things, whatever. Some things that I do will not work for you. I remember when I first started, I watched tutorial after tutorial after tutorial on so many different types of nails, so many different types of sets, techniques, filing, XYZ. And sometimes I would do exactly what they say, exactly how they say it. And it would not turn out how theirs turned out. Mine would be looking like a 2-year-old did it, and theirs looked great. And I just had to kind of learn that I needed to watch those tutorials with like a grain of salt, and I needed to still be mindful that I am a different person. I'm a different nail tech using different products. So of course it's going to turn out to be a little bit different, and that is okay. Like, everyone is different. Don't knock yourself if you end up having to do it a different way. Don't think that it's wrong if you end up doing it a different way. All in all, as long as your client gets what they want and you're happy and they're happy, that's all that matters. So just keep that in mind. Don't be too hard on yourself. So now we are going to get into the filing, and this is the same for any other time that you're filing square shape. Like I said, if you are a returner, then you know the process, y'all know the groove. And if you're new here, y'all about to hear it for the first time. To get me personally anyways, for me to get this really crisp, nice shape that I get, I am using an 80 grit file. We're going to start there. I do recommend, heavy on the recommend, with any file that you use, regardless if it's a sharper grit or not, to pull your client's skin back. That's first and foremost, because these files are sharp and they can and will slice your client's skin. It's not a good or comfortable feeling. So definitely be mindful of that. So make sure you're pulling their skin back. And as you can see with the square shape, I just keep the file straight up against the sides of the nails and file at a 90-degree angle. And with the free edge, I do the same thing. I press the file straight up against the nail, back to back, and file up and down at a 90-degree angle. And that gets me a very crispy, clean shape. Another thing that you see me doing is I'm filing at a diagonal angle, and that is not me filing the nail per se. That is me filing the underside of the nail. And that's super important, because when we're applying the acrylic, especially if you're somebody like me that runs your brush along the sides during acrylic application to like keep that shape like I mentioned, sometimes acrylic can seep on the undersides, and you'll definitely see that if you leave it rigid or messy underneath of there. So a lot of the things that I recommend are just little things, but they all add to the quality of the set overall. So I do recommend, doing them. I guess that's optional, but you want to give your clients the best quality, nice, clean, sleek nails. So you don't want your client leaving with ridges and acrylic and junk all up under their nails. You want it to be nice and clean and straight. So that is why I am doing that. And also, as you can see, I do take my file and run it over the top of the nail. Now, this is totally optional. I will say that I did not always do this. I just started doing this about a year ago, if that. And I just file every part of the nail on the top except for the cuticle area. Now, I do have a few things to say about that. One, I don't file the cuticle area because it is very, very easy to nick the client's cuticle with the file, only because it's such a tight space, and trying to file right there, it's just, yeah. And two, I don't file that area because I have to do that no matter what with my sanding band or ceramic drill bit, whichever one you use. Either way, you have to seal the cuticle. That's a must. So there's no point in me using, doing that with the hand file to get it in, when I know I'm going to get it nice and clean with the sanding band, or like I said, whatever drill bit you're using to seal the cuticle. Now, two, another reason why I do that is because I feel like, me personally, when I do that on the nails, after having my client, wash their nails and come back right before the design, I feel like it does allow the design or the polish, whatever I'm using, to apply more evenly, like more smoothly. I could be tripping, or maybe that's just my opinion, but I feel like it does just give me a very smooth, clean nail. I mean, granted, you do still file it. with your e-file. But me personally, I just feel like I have seen a difference since doing this. It makes the nails just look more smooth, more buffed. I don't know. I like it. And when I do use the e-file, of course, like I said, we'll get into that when we get to that part here coming up. I do seal the cuticle and file the cuticle area. I don't necessarily file the rest of the nail. I do run over it, very, very briefly, just to ensure that it is nice and smooth and even, flat, clean, ready to go for design. But I don't spend a lot of time on that, only because I'm doing it here with the file and I like the outcome a little bit better. And another thing is that when you are using that e-file to do that, you don't really, like, the goal there is not to take off any nail, because you shouldn't have that much in acrylic. You shouldn't have that much product on there anyways. It's really to just smooth it out. So that is something that you'll kind of learn to do as you just get better as a nail tech, and you practice. You'll kind of master your acrylic application to the point to where when you do start to use your e-file, like I said, you won't be having to worry about taking any acrylic off. It's just to smooth it out, get rid of any lumps and bumps, if you even have any, just to, like I said, add some quality to that, to the set. And you will see kind of like what I mean. You do want to make sure, again, with every step, the filing, the e-file, buffing, anything, that your client's nails are nice and even. As you see here, I'm making sure to flip my client's hand, looking at it from different angles, making sure that everything is nice and straight. I like to do this throughout the set, like literally from start to finish, because I feel like it is what helps me go back and fix it if I need to. Looking at it like one time and then just saying, oh, it's good, moving on, never coming back to look at it again. It's a little risky, because after looking at the nails for so long, you do kind of start to think like, oh yeah, these are good, they're great, exactly where they need to be. And that is not always true. So y'all, if you feel like I ramble a lot, these videos are very long. Not long, but I mean, they're like 40 minutes usually, unless it's a basic set. And I do, if you have watched my videos before, I go into depth, because like I said, I am here to be the nail tech that really teaches y'all and helps y'all learn as much as you can. I know there are some videos out there that don't do voiceovers, which I don't do them all the time, but I try. I do them most of the time, unless it's like just simply a fun set that I want y'all to watch me do. But I try to be very informative, because again, like I said, there are a lot of videos and texts out there, which, no shade, I've noticed when I used to watch videos 5 years ago, I would just watch and I wasn't really learning. I wasn't really knowing what was the purpose, or the description would be very vague, and I would still have a lot of questions or be wondering. So I just try to remember all of the things that I wish I knew when I used to watch them videos and that I was still curious about. I try to, like I said, remember all that so I can come and touch on it when I do my voiceover. So sorry if you feel like I'm rambling, but I do, like I said, just like to be very detailed. So hopefully whatever questions you had when you clicked on this video get answered by the end of it, And you can always follow my social medias, which are down below, my Instagram and my TikTok. And you can reach out to me. I'm not like famous or nothing. And even if I was, y'all, I will still respond back to any messages that I see. I will help y'all in any way that I can. So never hesitate to reach out if you want to know what product I use, if you want to just talk, nail tech talk, girl talk, anything. Where you get this from, how do you do that? Hey, can you do a video on this? Comment. Or if you don't want to comment, if you're embarrassed or just don't like being out there, whatever, reach out to me on my social medias, because I am a girl's girl and I will reply to you as long as I see it. And so back to the tutorial. I talk a lot. I should start a podcast. I kind of already touched on this. This is why I wasn't like very, about even explaining what I'm doing here, because I kind of already explained it ahead of time. But this is really important. I'm taking that sanding band and I'm sealing the cuticle area. This is a must. This is an absolute must. You have to do this. You want to make sure that you're doing this, because this is what will prevent lifting and really help with your retention and those nails lasting. And the goal here is to just make sure that the nails look super flush with the cuticle area. You want them to look like they just grew right out your client's cuticle. You know what I'm saying? You don't want them to be any lumpy, bumpy mess. You just want to make sure that you're sealing it from one side of the cuticle all the way around to the other. You do not want to miss any parts, skip any steps. And then as you can see, like I said, I do like to file, just run over the rest of the nail briefly just to ensure, add that little razzle of quality. Anything that can improve it or add to it, just make sure that I'm ensuring and making sure that it is nice and smooth and even. And I do like to file underneath like the curves of the free edge. That's just to clean up any acrylic that may be under there. So that's optional, but I feel like it just gives it a little cleaner look. And so now I'm buffing it. You can find these on Amazon, like a large quantity of them for a cheap price. I definitely recommend them, but any buffer will do. And this is probably the easiest step out of the entire tutorial. You just literally buff the nail from top to bottom, side to side, making sure you're getting every part of that nail. And I do buff the undersides. I just run it across the bottom of the nail like once or twice, and that's just to make sure that it's nice and smooth under there. And then I don't film this next part, but I apply cuticle oil all around my client's cuticle area and underneath like the nail part, and have them wash with soap and water. And I do use antibacterial soap. I know a lot of my clients be like, well, the nail salon says no soap. I don't know what type of soap they're using or why they say that, but me personally, the antibacterial soap doesn't leave any residue. It just simply cleans the nails. We'll be good to go. Maybe when you use other soaps it affects that, I don't know, but yeah, I have my clients use soap. It just be too messy. So we are almost at the end of this tutorial actually. So like I said, this is like a nice little spring set. So we did the ombre, and then what we're doing is taking a matching gel and we're doing a French tip, but we're not filling in the French tip, if that makes sense. So we're just kind of like doing like an outline. So I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I got tripped up on a lot of these nails. I was trying to make sure that each line was very consistent and even with each other, and it was a little challenging, I'm not gonna lie. So I tried to crop out the parts where I messed up. I might have left some in, but usually I do, but I knew this tutorial was gonna be long already, so I mess up too. I don't care how many times I do a set, how long I've been a nail tech, I do not care. I still mess up, and that is okay. I keep my acetone and my lint-free wipes on deck for when I gotta wipe some stuff off. So it was not as hard as it looks, but it just takes a lot of patience. And honestly, y'all, I'm still trying to find some good nail art brushes to work with. I feel like I cannot find one that is thin enough for me to do very detailed nail art. If you have any suggestions, please comment them down below, because I done tried almost every pack off Amazon that you can think of. I need, I have the ones that are good for, like, the one I'm using now was like my favorite as far as like thickness, but I need one that's very thin and precise, and it's hard to find them. I don't know, maybe I'm just not looking in the right spot, but comment down below if you got any suggestions. So this like I said, it's not as hard as it looks. It just takes a lot of steadiness and focus. I'm just outlining the sides as if I was doing actual French, and then I just start to bring them in, swoop the sides, connect them. I don't ever really have the right terminology for that part, but I am just connecting the sides with my French. And if you feel like you messed up, definitely just get some acetone on a little brush and clean it up where needed. And I feel like my biggest tip with this part right here, because the outlining is simple, but I feel like my biggest tip with that was to work very light-handedly so the line can be thin. And once you have them connected and the French looks good, then just kind of like thicken it out a little bit, like go back through and kind of just trace it slowly with a little bit more polish to like thicken it out. And granted, it does depend on what design, like what look you and your client are going for. My client wanted, you'll see in the end, like a thicker outline. So that's what we did, and it turned out super cute. That's really the only challenging part here. Outlining the sides and outlining the bottom of the nail, like the free edge. it ain't nothing to it really. But I did mess up quite a few times, and it was just because I'm such a perfectionist. Like, nothing is ever perfect, but it needs to be as close as perfect as possible with me anyways. And I feel like yeah, I needed each French, each little loop, each little U, whatever you want to call it, to be perfect and even. So I tried my best. Nobody's perfect. I don't care what anybody says or thinks. We all have flaws, and this, sometimes my wrists and these brushes and the gel polish just be working against your girl. But it was actually really fun. I really enjoyed this. So again, there's not really much for me to like explain here because it's the same step for each single nail. So yeah, I might just go ahead and in the tutorial here let y'all finish watching, of course, and see the finished outcome. But there's really not much left to it. I'm just again doing the same thing with each different color, outlining the sides, and I'm connecting the French and then thickening it out a little bit with more polish, making sure to trace the bottoms. I do double check to make sure that they're all even, and then once everything is cleaned up the way it needs to be, filled in the way it needs to be, I do top coat it with some Koopa gel polish. Oh Lord, Koopa gel top coat. Somebody slap me. I need to wake up because I'm doing this tutorial super late for y'all. But I need to get back on posting videos, y'all. My camera broke. I'm going through a crisis. So that's why I haven't been posting lately. I do have some videos on deck that I need to just do voiceovers for. And just be a little bit, not a challenge, but sometimes, y'all, as you can see here, I messed up like I told y'all. But it do be a little bit of a challenge just because the videos are kind of long. And when I'm doing something that is like not really a lot of detail to it, like for example this set, it's 40 minutes of talking and it's not really much to talk about, but I want to leave, you know, the clips where they're at so y'all can see everything in real time. So sometimes I be having to really set aside some time to do these, but I love doing them for y'all. I'm just here to help. That's literally it, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and let the rest of the video play out. Once I finish doing the design, I do top coat it like I said, and then you will see the outcome in the end. So if you want to skip to the end to see that part, by all means. If you want to finish watching to see me mess up sometimes and how I fix it, go right ahead by any means. I just appreciate you watching in general. So make sure to follow my social medias, reach out if you need me, comment down below some videos you'd like to see, any tips, any comments, any suggestions, just the hey, anything. And please make sure to like the video. That does go a long way and that really helps. Yeah, and sub up, hit the subscribe. It'll take you 3 seconds. I will sub back. Comment down below if you want me to sub back. I got y'all for sure. But yeah, I love you guys. Enjoy the rest of the video. Make sure to stay till see the end, or at least fast forward. I really want y'all to see how these turned out. I liked them. They were cute. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day or night or week, whatever it is for you right now. And thanks for watching. Love you guys. See you in the next one.